Hey all, Chris Sasso here from TGT Media, of course at Motor City Comic Con. We're joined today by Craig Boldman, Archie comic artist extraordinaire and legendary creator of many comics that we know and love. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. I'm enjoying the weekend.
You know, this is a fun convention. Why did you want to come to Motor City Con?
Well, I actually have been to this show before many years ago as an attendee. And I was always very impressed with the show, and I always wanted to come back here, but I just never had the opportunity. But I got the invitation this time and decided I wanted to give it a shot. And I'm really enjoying it. It's a good show.
A lot of traffic, a lot of people, it's wonderful. You know, everyone has one or two inspirational people that kind of set them on their path to their artists, or their comic artistry. Who are some of yours?
Well, I've got to say that the person that inspired me to get into Archie comics was Sam Schwartz. He was the longtime artist of the Jughead comic books, and I was always a fan of Archie comics, but there were certain stories that, you know, growing up, there were certain stories that appealed to me more than others, and I eventually figured out that I figured out who the artists and writers were that did the stories that I liked, and I noticed that Sam Schwartz, his stories always made me laugh, and it seemed like even if the story wasn't, it seemed like the art was pushing the humor along, which I really appreciated. And it seemed like when Sam drew a story, it was automatically 30% funnier, no matter what the story was about. And it was all because, I mean, there are a lot of Archie artists who can draw the characters very well and can draw very well, but Sam is a real cartoonist, and he had humor in his drawing. He was not just an artist, he was a cartoonist. And of course, Archie's had many of those. Dan DeCarlo was very great. Harry Lucy was one of my very favorites. Stan Goldberg I really like. But I just happened to latch on to Sam, and I wrote him a fan letter. This was back in my Kubert School days. I attended the Kubert School the second year it was in operation. And I was reading an Archie story called The Music Man, it was called. Sam Schwartz drew it, and it just had me cackling. And I decided, I gotta write this guy a letter. And he wrote me back a very nice letter, and gave me some very nice, very good advice about cartooning, and encouraged me to stick with it. And eventually, I ended up being the guy that was doing the Jughead comic book. So, how about that? Now I got to do some. Sam was getting near the end of his career, and I got to do some stories with him. I wrote a few stories that he illustrated. So that, of course, was a big thrill for me.
Well, that's amazing. You know, when it comes down to it, though, the younger generation are going to come through here. They're going to see your work, and they're going to be inspired themselves. But how can they inspire the next generation?
How can they inspire the next generation?
Yeah.
The young people coming through here, how can they inspire?
Yeah.
Well, I occasionally teach some cartooning classes, and I try to give them some pointers, but I tell them up front that in the end, all it is keeping your pen moving. You just keep drawing, keep drawing, keep drawing. Don't stop drawing. You can learn all the other tricks and stuff, but if you stick with it, eventually you're going to get better. It's going to start clicking. And I think the problem that the big problem is people get discouraged when their drawings aren't as great as they want them to be. The picture in their head doesn't turn out to be the picture that comes out of their pen, and they give up. But you can't give up. You have to everybody starts out doing bad drawings before they get to the good drawings. You've got to get through that stage of doing the bad drawings. Get them out of your system, get them out of the way, and stick with it, because eventually you'll start doing the good ones. I tell them that if you sit down if you make a project of doing 100 bad drawings, just doing as bad a drawing as you can 100 times, if you go back and look at them, that 100th bad drawing is going to be a lot better than your first bad drawing. It just happens naturally. So if you stick with it, it's going to start clicking. And so don't give up. And I would encourage the young guys coming up, I would say that that's advice worth sharing. Just tell people not to give up. And, people get inspired by example. So if you do your best work, somebody's going to pick up on it.
Well, one other final thing is, once you head home after this convention is done, what personal experiences are you going to take away from this convention?
Well, a cartoonist and a writer, it's a very, there's a lot of solitude involved in that profession. So I really enjoy the opportunity to get out for a change and meet people, see people who have looked at your stuff, and get to chat with them and stuff. It's not a thing that happens in the matter of my routine. So that's something I look forward to. I just enjoy meeting people and seeing what other people are interested in, seeing what the other what readers are reading and why they like what they're reading and stuff. It's enjoyable for me, and it's also good information for me. I learn things from that.
Well, thank you so much, Craig, for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great convention.
Oh, it's been a real pleasure, and I'm looking forward to today and Sunday.
Have a great time. Thank you.